Hey everybody, welcome to the Conscious Love Show. Whether you are single, you are in a relationship, or you're healing a broken heart, this show is here to inspire you, to remind you how beautiful, lovable, and amazing you truly are, and to give you the practical tools and insights to navigate from wherever you are right now to the loving relationship that you so deeply want to have. My name is Shane Kohler. I'm a certified transformational coach and trainer with over a decade experience helping people release their trauma and open their hearts to love. I've delivered seminars all over the world, coached thousands of people through my online platforms and programs, and every week I'm coming straight to you with the hottest insights and the best teachers around, bringing you powerful resources and profound conversations to heal your relationship with love, dating, and yourself. I'm so grateful you're here, and if it's your first time, welcome. You can count on me to always show up for you with my very best and a commitment to learn and grow myself so I can serve you to my maximum ability. Thanks so much for tuning into the show. I've got some awesome things planned for you today. So without further ado, let's dive in. All right, what's up everybody? Hello again and welcome back to the Conscious Love Show podcast. Shane Kohler on. Pleasure to be back with you today and looking forward to diving in. Today's episode, we're talking about the 10 things men say that confuse women. And this came up for me recently with a client where she had reached out to me asking about some things that a man that she's been seeing for some time had said to her. So he came over one night and they were kind of doing their normal routine that they normally do, but he had said some things, and I don't need to go into the details of what exactly was said, but he said typical men things. Let me put it that way. And I'll actually address some of what those things were in some of the examples today. But she reached out to me saying, what the hell does this mean? And can you help me understand why he says these things and where he's coming from when he says them? And I thought, I really need to speak to this because I know she's not the only one. In fact, I'm going to go through 10 examples today of the most common things men say who confuse women. And I can promise almost all of you will have heard at least half of these. Some of you have probably heard every single one of them because these are the common things that men say that are confusing as hell to women. And when my client reached out to me about this, I said to her, the reason you're reaching out and asking these questions is because you can feel that there's something underneath this. You can feel that what he's saying is not exactly what he means, or at least he's communicating what he means, not through the perfectly clear language that would delineate word for word what he's trying to say. And this is something men do. There are reasons for that. And my intention today is not to villainize men, right? So I'm not even saying that it's wrong that men do this. I'm saying that it's something men do. And a lot of it comes from maybe not being completely emotionally literate, maybe not being completely clear about their intentions, maybe having some undigested discomfort or fear or resistance that they may not even be in touch with their own emotions enough to really understand, this is what I'm saying and why I'm saying it, right? So it's not that men are lying when they say these things. And I actually want to make this clear because men rarely lie. And let me start with that point. And I know a lot of women may be surprised when I say that because you might be like, men have lied to me all the time. What do you mean men don't lie? So let me explain. Most men do not lie. There is something in the masculine frame that recoils around a lie. It feels slimy. It feels greasy. It feels not masculine. It feels not strong. It feels weak. There's something in the masculine frame that actually recoils at a lie. So I'm not saying that men never lie, but if a man is telling you a blatant lie, like he's saying you're the only one and really he's seeing 10 other women, that man is a narcissist or a sociopath. That is not your typical man. Most men do not tell blatant, direct lies like that. But that doesn't mean that everything a man says is clear or that you're able to readily grasp exactly what he's saying and why he says it. So what most men do is they say things that are technically true, that make women feel the way that they want the women to feel, and avoid them having to be, let me say, brutally honest. So let me put it this way. If there is a truth that if he were to say it, it would sever the relationship. Like, let me just be really clear. Like, I am never going to commit to you, right? Like, let's say that's the actual truth. I am never going to commit to you. Well, he wouldn't necessarily say that. He might say something like, I really like you, which is not a lie. It's also not the brutal, blatant truth. But when he says, I really like you, what he does is he gives hope. He says something that is technically true because he honestly does really like you. But it doesn't carry the emotional weight of, I see a future with you. I want to build something with you. I want to like devote myself to you, right? So it doesn't carry the emotional weight that those statements carry. It's also not the brutal, honest truth that I'm never going to commit to you. It's somewhere in the middle. It's a statement that is technically true. It makes her feel good. It makes him feel like the hero. It allows the relationship to continue. And a man is more likely to say statements that are technically true, that keep things comfortable, that keep things light, that maintains the connection, that maintains the relationship. And he'll often do this unless he's called out on it, unless he's called to the plate. And I might talk a little bit about that today as well. Now, we could get into the domain of, is this right or wrong? But I'm going to say, I don't think it's inherently wrong. I would say a man who is deeply attuned with himself and who is very emotionally mature might lean a little more on the side of like really direct clarity. And so we could say maybe it reflects some fear, some unprocessed emotion, some relational immaturity. And I'm willing to admit that. And I'll even share today some of the times in my life that I've said these things and why I've said them. Right? So I don't think it's inherently wrong. It's not done with malicious intent. It's generally done with the fact that he doesn't truly know how he feels. He doesn't truly know what he wants. He likes you. He likes the relationship. He wants it to continue. He doesn't want to make you feel bad. So it's not done maliciously. It's not done with the intent of like truly misleading you into harm. But that doesn't mean that it's harmless. And so with the 10 statements that I'm going to cover today, these are generally statements that when women misunderstand them, it leads to pain. It leads to heartache. It leads to suffering. And these are statements that men say with the intention to make you feel good and preserve the relationship, not with the intention to hurt, but also to somewhat not reveal the absolute brutal truth about everything that he feels. When he says these things, he's often trying to be kind. But there's also a selfish intent behind it in that he doesn't want to lose you. And some women may be flattered by the idea that he doesn't want to lose you. And I'm going to say it's not always as flattering as it might seem at first. One of the biggest traps that I want to address today is that when men make these statements, women often interpret them the way they would interpret them if they had said it, or they interpret it through a feminine lens. So they interpret it the way that what it would mean if a woman said it. And that's one of the biggest confusions here. And this is why a lot of women say, he lied to me. Well, he didn't really lie to you, but the reason it feels like he lied to you was because if you had said the same thing that he said, it would have meant something different if you said it. So for example, if a woman said, I really like you, or I really care about you, that may have meant that I really like you, I really care about you, and I want this relationship to go somewhere. Where when he says it, it means I really like you and I really care about you, and that's it. It doesn't mean more than that. And so a lot of times she will interpret it through the feminine lens of, well, if I said it, this is what it would mean. So this must be what it means for him. And another trap here that I'm going to address today is that a lot of times a woman is afraid to disrupt the relationship for a lot of reasons, and this has a lot to do with the way women are conditioned, right? Women are conditioned to not be disruptors. Women are conditioned to be pleasing and amicable and to preserve the peace. And so when he says, I really like you or I really care about you, she doesn't say, well, what does that really mean? She just takes it as a compliment and makes up her own meaning. Oh, that means that he really wants to be with me. Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that. And rather than challenging him to clarify, rather than calling him to step up, she wants to preserve the peace and give it her own meaning that allows her to live out the fantasy that she's hoping is real. So in today's episode, I'm going to be brutally honest. And I'm going to do it with a lot of love and a lot of compassion, but I'm going to tell you the 10 things that men say and what they mean when they say them. And with each of these items that I'm going to cover in today's episode, I'm going to name the typical way that a woman will interpret this when it's said. And then I'm going to name the correct way to interpret it and the correct response for it. So in each of the 10 statements that I'm going to cover today, I'm going to tell you exactly how, as a woman, you should respond to this statement when you hear it. And I'm going to name ahead of time that the response is going to be a little disruptive. It's not going to be the peacekeeping response necessarily, but it's going to challenge him for clarity. It's going to signal to him, I'm not the woman who buys into half-truths just so you can feel good and maintain your access to me. I'm the kind of woman that demands complete truth from you. And if that's brutal honesty, I can handle it. But I'm not going to be the weak woman that buys into your comforting statements and allows you to continue to have access to my life and my time and my heart and my body until one day this all blows up in both of our faces. So this is going to be a good one. And I think it's so important that when you hear the 10 statements that I'm going to cover today, you understand as a woman the masculine frame around these statements. Again, I want to say I'm not demonizing men. I'm not saying that men are intentionally misleading or that they are out to hurt anyone. I don't think that's true. I think most men are saying things that are emotionally comfortable, that are not disruptive, that make you feel good without telling you an outright lie. And it's important, actually going into today's episode, it's important to say that men typically, again, unless they're a narcissist or a sociopath, but like men typically mean exactly what they say. They don't mean less than that, but they also don't mean more than that. And the biggest mistake a woman can make is to hear a man's statement and conflate that with what she thinks it means or what she hopes it means versus listening to what was actually said. And as I name these things today, there's something else I want to mention, is that a lot of times, just going with the examples I've already given, if he says, I really like you or I really care about you, a woman might take comfort in saying, oh, well, he really likes me. He really cares about me. That probably means he sees a future. That probably means that he wants this to go somewhere. And I'm just going to latch onto that rather than really challenge him for clarity. And she might think that challenging him for clarity would actually push the relationship to end. And I'm going to say that challenging him for clarity is not going to push the relationship to end. It's going to reveal the truth of what the relationship actually has to offer. And here's the thing. When you live on a hope and a dream, but you never challenge a relationship for clarity, that doesn't actually preserve the integrity of the relationship. What it does is it causes him to lose a certain respect for you in the relationship. When a woman challenges a man for clarity, it will disrupt his comfort. It will disrupt his attempt to have the relationship on comfortable terms that don't call him forward. It will challenge that. But it will also call forth his respect for her as a human being. He's going to be like, oh shit, this is a real woman who knows what she wants. She's challenging me to clarify what I want. And this is where a man is going to reveal his actual potential. That's one of the most important things to understand here. Challenging him does not destroy the relationship unless the relationship had no potential to begin with. Challenging him causes him to respect you. It causes him to take you seriously. Now, when he respects you and when he takes you seriously, he might say, I'm not equipped to handle a woman like you. And that might be true, but that was going to be true regardless. All you did there was cut out the months of allowing him to comfortably access you in the meantime. So let me dive into this because we got a lot to cover today. And so I want to go through these 10 statements, things men say that confuse women. I want to name the common misinterpretation, the correct interpretation, and the proper response to each of these statements. And then at the end, I'm going to give you the 6 things men say that actually mean something. So if a man tells you one of these 6 things, you'll know he is really serious about you and serious about the relationship. So let's get to it. Number 1, I just don't have time for a relationship right now. Oh my God, if I had a nickel for every time a woman has told me a man said this to her. I just don't have time for a relationship right now. You know this, I know this. Everyone knows this. We all make time for the things that we really, really want in our lives. Now, it might feel true to him, and that's why I say it's not a lie. It might feel true to him. He might feel like he doesn't have the time to give you what you want in the relationship. But what he's really saying, and again, this is where it comes down to, it's not that he's intentionally misleading you. It's that he's operating from an emotional truth that he might not be attuned enough to name within himself. What he might be saying is, this relationship is overwhelming. He might be saying, I don't know if I can offer you what you really need from me. He might be saying, I don't know how to balance my life in a way where I can really show up for you. Like, he might be saying any number of these things. But at the end of the day, what he's truly saying is, I am not emotionally equipped to show up for this relationship. Part of that could be, I'm just not interested in you enough. And this is the brutal honesty that I said I'm going to offer you today. There is an objective truth where if it were someone else, he might make the time. And I'm not saying that to hurt anybody's feelings, but I'm saying that because you really need to understand what's happening here and not delude yourself about what's happening. When a man says, I don't have time for a relationship right now, a woman, especially when she's really interested in him, often says, okay, I'll wait. And then she tells her friends and she gets on a coaching call with me and she tells me, right? Like, well, he's going through a separation. He's managing co-parenting with his ex-wife. He's really busy at work and he's overwhelmed and he's stressed out and his boss makes all these demands of him and all these things. And these are true, right? These are true things. I'm not saying he's fabricating the story. These are all true things. But the fact is, he's not prioritizing her and he's not prioritizing the relationship. He is choosing that these things are more important than fostering the connection with her. And she says, well, he's really busy right now, but after things balance out at work, after he gets through the separation with his wife, after this and that and the other thing, he'll finally be ready. And I did an episode on this a while back, which a lot of women responded to. I think they got a lot of value from it. But I did an episode talking about never wait for a man. And the reason I did this episode was because I wanted to name this dynamic. And this is what I said in the episode is I said, when you wait for a man, even if his life is objectively busy and at some point in the future it may be objectively calmer, when you wait for him, you are teaching him that you are the kind of woman who will wait rather than the kind of woman who will not wait. And those are two different women. And the fact is that when he is available, when he is ready, he doesn't choose the woman who waited for him because he's already lost respect for her. I know that's a tough truth, but it's real. What I've seen many times is a woman who says, okay, got it. You don't have time for a relationship. I like you. This has been awesome. It's been wonderful getting to know you, but I need someone who does have time for a relationship. So call me when you get your shit together, but I'm not going to be waiting. A lot of times I've seen that man call that woman a week later or 2 weeks later and say, hey, I've been thinking about it. I want to make this work. Why? Because she told him, you're not going to have this relationship on your comfortable terms. I get your life circumstances. I respect that. But if those circumstances are more important than sincerely showing up for this relationship, that's not something I can entertain. And she forced him to sit with the reality of how much do I really want this? Now that happens maybe 50% of the time. The other 50%, the man drifts off into oblivion and she never hears from him again. But the man who drifts off into oblivion did not have the emotional capacity to show up for her. That's why he drifted off. The man who calls her 2 weeks later and says, listen, I miss you. I've been thinking about it. I want to make this work. I'm going to do everything I can to show up for you. He's the man who did have the emotional capacity to show up for her. He just needed her to force him to sit with the discomfort of losing her before he could really get clear that he has the emotional capacity. And that doesn't make him a bad guy. It doesn't make him avoidant. It doesn't make him non-committal. It made him unaware of his own emotional reality until she challenged him to sit with it. And let me just say this as a principle. In so many ways, this is the impact that the feminine has on the masculine. The feminine, when she's in her power, calls forth truth from the masculine. And that's why I say he wasn't lying, he wasn't manipulating, he wasn't misleading. He was trying to have the relationship within the domain of his comfort. And she said, no, no, no. You're not going to have this relationship in the domain of your comfort. You're going to meet me where I need to be met or not at all. So the incorrect interpretation, if I just wait, he'll eventually be ready for me. The correct interpretation, he either doesn't have the bandwidth to show up for me or he has it but doesn't realize that he has it. And the proper response, I respect your life. I respect your circumstances, but I'm not going to be waiting for you. Get your shit together. Call me when you're ready. Hope I'm still available. Boom. Number 2, I'm not good at texting. This is another one that I probably hear like 30 times a week. I'm not good at texting. Now, let me say this. There are men, and probably a lot of men, who are genuinely not good at texting. There's a difference between a man who's not good at texting and a man who doesn't even try. So There are men who maybe aren't good at texting. It's not their primary form of communication. They prefer to be present with where they are, with what's right in front of them, rather than being tied to their phone all the time. Their texts are transactional. Their texts are needed basis only. It's funny, like when I'm texting with my female clients, a lot of times I'll get paragraphs. When I'm texting with my male clients, a lot of times they'll just give my message a thumbs up, right? So like there is a truth between men and women in terms of how we text, and women tend to be more verbose. Women tend to be more emotional in their texts. Women tend to give more stories, more benchmarks for the things they're talking about, where men tend to be like simple, succinct, to the point, minimum necessary. And what I often say to women is, okay, if a man is not good at texting, he may not give you the deep, lengthy responses that you're looking for. He may not think to text you multiple times a day, keep in touch with you about what's happening in his day, check in with you about what he ate for lunch. So like he may not do all of that. But there's a difference between a man who texting is not his preferred mode of communication and a man who leaves you on red for 4 days. Even a man who's not good at texting can respond to your messages within a timely manner. Even a man who's not good at texting can acknowledge that he saw what you sent. He can even say something like, hey, thanks so much for sending this. I'm at work right now. I'm in the middle of a bunch of things, but I want to check in with you later and we can talk about it. I'm not good at texting is not an excuse for shitty communication. So why does he say this? Because what he's really communicating, if he's leaving you on red for hours and hours or even days, and then showing up later like nothing happened, what he's really communicating is he's setting a low standard for the relationship. He's saying, I want you to be available for me, and I'm not going to be held to any standard of communication. Women, in their beautifully understanding and sympathetic nature, which truly is a gift, and it's something that for all the ladies out there, I don't ever want you to lose your beautifully understanding and sympathetic nature. I just want you to be discerning about who receives it and who doesn't. And so when a man says, I'm not good at texting, a woman will often make all kinds of excuses for him. But the reality is, I understand you might not be good at texting, but it's not unreasonable for me to expect a response to something I send you within at least an hour or two. You know, if you're at work and you literally can't have your phone at work, then when you get off work, you can reply. I've had women ask men who were not good at texting, hey, it would make me feel really good in this connection if you could just text me good morning every day. Doesn't have to be 10 paragraphs on how you slept and what your plans are for the day. Just good morning. Anybody can do that. Any freaking buddy can do that, right? So if he can't text you good morning when you've asked him to, if he can't respond to your messages within a couple hours maximum, maybe at the end of his day if he's just completely slammed at work, that's not about not being good at texting. That's about him setting a subpar standard for communication with you and getting you to agree with it. Don't accept that. Number 3. I'm gonna put number 3 and number 4 together because they're two different versions of the same thing. So number 3 is, let's just see where things go. How many times have you heard that one, ladies? Let's just see where things go. Number 4, I'm not looking for anything serious. Now, these are both wonderful examples of a way that a man will get you to buy into something without promising anything. These are both red flag statements. These are both red flag statements. And so when a man says, let's just see where things go, a woman often interprets, he really wants a relationship long term, and he just wants to see if this is the right fit. And this is where, if she's not grounded in herself, she's going to immediately fall into performing and posturing and trying to show up for him and trying to prove herself in the relationship. When he says, let's just see where things go, he's saying he wants the benefit of connection without the responsibility. He's offering enough hope to keep her invested without the certainty to anchor anything real. That is a red flag statement. When I was younger, I was talking to some of my friends who, at the time, I thought they were successful with women. Looking back, I wouldn't say that they were successful with women. I would just say they were good at playing the game. And I remember talking to one of my friends about, like, how do you talk to a woman? And he actually gave me this exact line. So let's just see where things go. It's like a classic player line. Don't fall for it. A proper response to that line, if he says, let's just see where things go, you might say, absolutely. I understand that we don't know each other that well. This is new. We don't know what the future holds. But I'm not really okay with getting into something where we're just seeing where it goes. I want to know that you're actually interested in the same things that I'm interested in. I want to know that you potentially see a future here. And yeah, we've got to get to know each other. Understandably, we can't make a lifetime commitment right now. I get that. I'm not pushing for that. But I want to know that you're serious. I want to know that you're serious not about me, but what you want for your life. Are you looking for a committed relationship? Are you looking for a partner? Because I'm not just going to spend the next 6 months seeing where things go and hoping you're going to decide to want something that you don't even want at all. I'm not looking for anything serious. So number 4, this one is more honest and also more insidious. Because when he says, I'm not looking for anything serious, it's the same intention as let's just see where things go. He wants the benefit of the connection without the responsibility. And he's being more honest about it. But this is where it's more insidious, is that if you agree to it, he's already told you there's no possibility. So in the first one, he's offering you hope. Let's see where things go. Maybe something could happen. In the second one, he's offering you no hope and still getting your buy-in. And women often make the same mistake here. They immediately fall into performing and posturing and proving themselves. Well, he doesn't want anything serious, but once he sees how wonderful I am, then he will. You are wonderful. But you're not going to change the mind of a man who's showing up saying he doesn't want anything serious. And going back to the respect point that I've touched on earlier, this is one of the biggest ways to lose a man's respect instantly. When he says, I'm not looking for anything serious, and you say, yeah, me neither, it's cool, while secretly hoping that it will lead to something more. And I'm going to be really honest with you, ladies. I say this with a lot of love. A lot of women lie to themselves about what they want to keep a man in their lives. So I've seen a lot of women tell themselves, I'm okay with something casual, when your nervous system says you're not okay with something casual. In fact, I might be biased because I work with women who want relationships, and I understand there are women out there who maybe don't want relationships. So I get that. But in all my work, in all the years of working with thousands of women, I've never encountered a woman who doesn't want a relationship. And again, that might be biased, so I'm not going to say that that doesn't exist, but I'm going to say it's statistically rare. And the core feminine need is safety. Being physically, emotionally, sexually available to a man who doesn't offer you the safe containment of commitment generally is super threatening to a woman's nervous system. And anytime she goes along with it and tries to be cool with it, her nervous system generally begins rebelling. And I think there's a big narrative in our culture hookup culture and all of this that like we should be secure enough to be okay with something casual. And I think it's probably true for both men and women that nobody's really okay with that. Nobody's really okay with that. It actually threatens our very attachment systems. And we think, well, if I were truly confident, I would be okay with it. No, if you were truly confident, you would be clear about what you want, willing to name it, and unwilling to settle for less. So what's the proper response in any of these two statements? I'm not okay with seeing where things go. I'm not okay with something casual. I know what I want, and I'm looking for a man who can step up to that. And similar to what I said earlier, I've seen a lot of men a week or 2 weeks later come back and say, you know, I've been thinking I do want to explore something real. For the same reason that I said earlier. You forced him to sit with the reality of losing you. You challenged his ability to have the relationship on the terms of his own comfort. All of a sudden, he thinks you're the high-value woman that he never saw before. All of a sudden, he's going, do I really want to let a woman like this slip away from me? Now, again, if he's not ready for that kind of relationship, yes, he'll disappear into oblivion. But if on some level he really wants that kind of relationship, he's going to start questioning if he should let the woman who's willing to stand up for that get away from him. 50% of the time, he calls back. Number 5, I need space. This one, so what does it mean? When a man says, I need space, it typically means that he is feeling emotionally overwhelmed, that he is coming up against his own commitment issues, that he's coming up against his attachment wounds, his fear of abandonment, or his fear of closeness or intimacy. This statement often shows up when a man gets close enough in a relationship with a woman that it begins to threaten everything that makes him feel secure in himself. He's starting to attach in a way that might compromise his independence or his sovereignty. He's starting to feel things that make him feel weak. He's starting to be put in the position of this person could actually hurt me. If she ends it, if she decides she wants to see someone else, that could really hurt me, so it can be a protection move. It can also be he's starting to feel exposed or seen in a way that he normally doesn't let himself be exposed or seen. And so he's withdrawing to gain some of that composure. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a power move. Again, I'm not saying that it's malicious or intentional, but it can be a way of him trying to regain the upper hand. If I'm feeling too vulnerable, let me withdraw and let me regain the upper hand in this relationship. Now, when he says he needs space, what a woman usually does is collapse on some level. She starts to fear, is he pulling away? Is he seeing someone else? Why aren't I enough? Why aren't I good enough? What did I do wrong? She starts to question herself. What a woman needs to know about a man requesting space is that if this is happening, it's not because she did anything wrong. It's because she's doing something right. It's because the relationship is taking him to a place that he's not comfortable going. The test here is if he's going to be able to get over that hump. if he's going to be able to find his way through that. The mistake a lot of women make is they don't give him the space, or they don't give it to him cleanly. If she starts acting out in any kind of way, posting things on social media that she knows he's going to see, or if she starts texting him or calling him or asking, how's your space going? Or like, if she doesn't let him cleanly have the space, what she's doing is she's subtly communicating to him that the relationship isn't safe for him. Any threat to the space that he's trying to take when he's already hit his max overwhelm is going to tell him, like, it's going to speak to his nervous system that this relationship is not safe. I can't trust it. It's going to feel like a threat to him, and it's going to push his withdrawal. The correct thing for a woman to do in this situation is to give him the space and give it to him cleanly. Now, I've talked about this many times, and a lot of times women, especially women who are more anxiously oriented, tend to rebel against this. There's a lot of conversation about there that, no, it's his job to create safety, and taking space doesn't create safety. And I get that, and that's not entirely false, but here's the thing. The relationship needs to be safe for both people, not just one person. So sometimes, as we move into commitment with someone, there is realistically a little bit of push and pull. And a lot of times push and pull is named toxic. If somebody is withdrawing or pulling away, it's, oh, that's toxic behavior. Well, sometimes someone needs some distance for clarity. Sometimes someone needs some distance to regulate something within themselves before they're ready to move forward. Sometimes him taking distance can be an unconscious test where he says, do you have the emotional capacity to give me distance? So let's say the relationship has been going on for a couple of months. It's been getting pretty deep. It's been getting pretty real. And now he says, I need space. This sometimes is an unconscious test on his part to say, when I take space, are you going to be able to allow that space without threatening it? And if you can do that, that inspires confidence in this relationship. But if you can't do that, that kills my confidence in this relationship. And I know this is a challenge, especially for a woman who's anxiously oriented, to cleanly give him space. That's tough. I get that. But it's critical. It's critical. So the correct response in a situation like this is, I want you to take whatever space you need. I'm not going to try to control that. I'm not going to try to prevent that. But I want you to know you need to take this space and you need to get clear about what you want. And in the meantime, I'm not going to be waiting for you. That's essential. I'm not going to be waiting for you. So now he's left with the reality that you're giving him all the space he needs, all the time he wants. You're not going to text him. You're not going to call him. You're not going to post things on social media to try to get his attention. You're not going to threaten his space in any sense of the word. But he's living with the existential threat that every day he doesn't bridge that space, you're moving further and further and further and further away from him. You see, that is the challenge in his system that drives him forward. That's one of the most skilled things a woman can do. And I know, again, especially for anxiously oriented women, that's really hard. But it's critical. Now, number 6. I really care about you, or even worse, I really see myself with someone like you. This could also be I really like you, anything along these lines. But the spirit here is a vague signal of interest that is actually empty. And I'm going to go with I really see myself with someone like you, because I think that hits this perfect balance. It's the ultimate almost compliment, right? It offers comfort without commitment. And I want everyone to hear this. I really see myself with someone like you is not the same thing as I see myself with you, or I see us together. That is not the same thing. And a lot of times, especially if you're filled with hope, especially if you really want the relationship to work and you're waiting to hear something like this, and then he says it, you go, oh my God, this is what I've been waiting for. And you actually let your defenses down. This is one of those things that, and when I get to the end of this episode and I talk about the 6 things that actually mean something, this is a statement to challenge. Caring is cheap, but devotion is expensive. And it's not a lie. It's not a lie. When he says, I really care about you, I really like you, I really see myself with someone like you, those are absolutely true statements. And it's flattering, and it gives hope, and it paints a future. But the thing is, it does not place you in that future. And that's why it's so insidious. And I want to go back to something I said earlier. When a man makes a statement, he means what he says. Not less, but not more. And I know if a woman were to say to a man, I really see myself with someone like you, that would probably mean that she was ready to commit. And this is the trap that men speak in emotional terms, women speak in emotional terms, men speak in literal terms. And I'm not saying that one is good and one is bad, one is right and one is wrong. I'm saying they're different. And as a woman who's relating with men, this is an important thing to remember. When he says, I see myself with someone like you, that is a different statement than I see myself with you or I see us together. The proper response is to actually call it out. When you say you see yourself with someone like me, does that mean you see yourself with me? Like, are you saying that you see a future between me and you? What are you really saying here? Call it out. Challenge it. This is once again him offering hope, possibility, saying something that makes you feel good without actually naming commitment. And when you challenge that, you might say, oh, well, I don't know. I mean, I really like you. Maybe, possibly. And that's where you might say, I really like you too. But I'm going to ask that you don't say things like that unless you really mean it. And when you really mean it, say what you really mean. So I don't want to hear that you see yourself with someone like me. I want to hear that you're ready to be with me. And if you can't say that, don't say anything. And I want to go back, like maybe the most important thing that I'm saying today, I keep circling back to this, is I know that being this direct and challenging like this might be terrifying, but I'm going to tell you, this calls forth a man's respect because it shows that you respect yourself. It doesn't always call forth commitment because not all men are ready for commitment. But whether he commits or not, he will walk away going, damn, that's an amazing woman. This is the kind of clarity that the masculine frame respects. Now, this next one, it's common enough that I wanted to name it, and it has a lot of possible meanings. The statement is, "You're perfect." And I'm sure so many women have had a man tell them, "You're perfect," or some version of that, "I've never met anyone like you." This can mean several different things, but the core principle that I want to name here is that you never want to let yourself be swayed by flattery. Again, "you're perfect" is not the same thing as "I want to be with you." And let's also name this, and I say this with a lot of love, you're not perfect. And so it's important to call that out because, and that's not a jab at you, that's just a reality of humanity, is nobody's perfect. And so if he's calling you perfect when you're actually not perfect, he's not dealing with reality. He's living in a fantasy. So a couple of things that could happen here. He might be saying this because he has you up on a pedestal. He's infatuated with you. He's obsessed with the idea of you, but he's not ready to meet your reality. And that's a little bit of a red flag. It doesn't make him a bad person. We all get infatuated sometimes. There was a time when I thought my wife was perfect, right? There was a time when past relationships when I thought the person was perfect. So it doesn't make him a bad person, but it points to the fact that he's not dealing with reality. If he says something like, "You're perfect, I've never met anyone like you. You're perfect, I don't deserve someone like you." Or this one makes me roll my eyes. "You're perfect, I feel like I manifested you." "You're perfect, you don't even understand how incredible you are." Now, again, he's not wrong for saying these things. It might be true to what he feels in the moment, but it's important that you hear what's behind it, because what a statement like this does is it disarms you if you let it. If he's putting you up on a pedestal, you don't want to be rude, but you might bring him back down to earth. You might say, "I really appreciate the sentiment, but I'm actually not perfect. And I'd really like you to get to know the real me, not an idealized version of me." That puts the whole thing in perspective real fast. You're saying, "I'm not a perfect ideal, and I'm not going to be held to a perfect ideal. I'm a real human being, and I want to be seen as a real human being. I don't want to be objectified as this idea of a woman that you think I am. I want to be known. I want to be seen." That's powerful. Another example might be, if he's trying to leave, he might say something like, "You're perfect. It's me who's messed up." Or, "I'm just not ready for someone like you." Or, "You're perfect, and that's the problem. I don't want to drag you into my issues." If you hear something like this, you don't want to be flattered by the frame. You want to hear what he's saying. He's not ready. He's not invested. Doesn't matter how perfect you are or not. That's not the point of the statement. Sometimes, if he feels inferior to you, he'll say something like, "You're perfect. I don't even know why you like me." Or, "How did I even get you?" Or, "I hope I don't screw this up." And that might feel flattering on the front end, but he's actually subtly emasculating himself. And you might say gently, "I don't want a man who holds me on a pedestal. I want a man who can meet me as my equal. I don't want a man who feels inferior to me. I want a man who's secure enough in himself that he knows he deserves me." The biggest thing here is to not be swayed by flattery, but to really be clear on what these statements mean underneath them and respond to the actual meaning. Number 8, I'm scared of hurting you. When a man says this, you can be certain that he is going to hurt you. Men don't say that when their intentions are clean. Why is he scared of hurting you? Because he's going to. And is he scared of it? Yeah. Because he's not going to feel good about that. He doesn't want to hurt you. Most men, again, unless there's some kind of sociopath, most men don't wake up in the morning thinking, "Who can I hurt today?" But he has needs for connection, for sex, for attention, for validation, for relationship, for companionship. He has needs. And if you allow it, he's going to use you to meet those needs. And he's saying this because he knows that while he's using you to meet these needs, he's not going to be able to meet your needs. And so he tells you up front, "I'm scared of hurting you." What a lot of women do in this situation is they say, "Oh, how thoughtful. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about hurting me. I'll be fine." That's the wrong response. The right response might be something like, "Well, I'm scared of you hurting me too. And if you're saying that, that raises some red flags on my end." Might ask, "Why are you saying that?" When men make statements like this, you don't want to offer reassurance. Going back to something I said earlier, like the "let's just see where things go," or "I'm not looking for anything serious." A lot of times women will offer reassurance to things like this. It's fine. You don't need to be looking for anything serious. I'm cool with just seeing where things go. Don't worry about hurting me. I can take care of myself. Don't offer reassurance to his half-assed commitments. It's one of the biggest lessons you can take away from today. Don't reassure him in his discomfort. Highlight his discomfort. "I'm scared of hurting you." Why are you saying that right now? Do you plan on hurting me? "Well, no, but it's just look, typically when a man has no intentions of hurting someone, he doesn't say that. So let's be real. Why are you saying that right now?" It's not your job to reassure him in his uncertainty. Which leads me right into the next one. "You deserve better than me." This is another one like, oh my God, if I'd had a nickel every time I heard somebody say this. You deserve better than me. He's telling the truth. You deserve better than him. He's making an actual factual statement. And what do women do when a man says this most of the time? No, don't say that. You're amazing. Once again, don't reassure him in his uncertainty. It's not your job to reassure him. The reason he's telling you you deserve better is because he knows you do. It's not humility. It's a confession. And if you stay, he will do whatever he's going to do. And then he's going to turn around and say, I told you you deserve better. Another version of this might be, why are you so good to me? Why are you so good to me? I don't deserve that. And when he gets agreement through something like this, why are you so good to me? Because I care about you, because you're a wonderful person, because I love you. And he says, okay, I can continue not showing up for you, and you're just going to continue caring about me. And when it comes down to it, I'm going to tell you, I told you deserve better. These are the kinds of statements where he gets you to buy in to a subpar relationship. He's actually creating your agreement. A proper response to something like this, you deserve better than me. You might say, well, I'm surprised to hear you say that because I didn't think so initially, but now that you're saying that, I think you're probably right. You could see where the conversation goes from there. But you might end up saying, I'm not here to reassure you when you're telling me that you can't show up for me. I deserve someone who knows that they deserve me and who knows that they deserve me because of what they bring to the table. If you're not that person, that's okay. You don't have to be that person, but don't expect me to keep giving to someone who's already said they don't deserve me. Number 10. This is one that I know I've 100% said personally. And I'll explain why I said it, and it's something that a lot of women have probably heard, but I'll just say it. So the statement is, I know I'm going to regret this, but I can't be with you anymore. And what I want to say to all the ladies out there is if a man ever says this to you, the part that matters is I can't be with you anymore. That's the part that matters. Anything he says before that is irrelevant. And I want to share some context for the time that I said this, because when I said it, it felt true. And if I had the emotional maturity then that I have now, I would not have said it, even though it felt true. And here's why. Is because I knew where I stood. I knew what I was walking away from. I just didn't understand why. And I was confused because I had made a decision. I cannot be in this relationship anymore. I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. It felt suffocating. Every cell of my body was telling me to get out of this. I would hype myself up and try to talk myself into it. And then I would go over to her house and I would feel suffocated the second I would walk in the door. And I'm not blaming her. It's not her fault. But this was my experience of the relationship. Been with my wife 9 years. Never felt that way with her. But it was the context of this relationship. And looking back, I now have more understanding about it than I did then. But this is what I want to say. On paper, it was everything I thought I wanted. In practice, it felt like a rope around my neck. And that confused me. So when I decided that I can't stay anymore because I physically can't, I said to her, I know I'm going to regret this, but I can't be with you anymore. And what that did was it gave her unrealistic false hope. And that must have been confusing as hell for her. And I regret saying that. Because what I was trying to tell her was, this is not about you, it's about me. What I was trying to tell her was, I really care about you. I love you as a human being. I don't want to hurt you. You're an amazing person and somebody is going to be so happy with you, but that person is just not going to be me. But truthfully, even though that's what I felt and that was honest, I should not have said any of that. Because what that does is it creates false hope. She didn't hear me say, I can't be with you anymore. She heard me say, you're amazing, you're wonderful, and I'm going to regret this. And so, to all the ladies out there, in any form of this, when a man says, I can't be with you because I don't have the time, because of whatever the reason is, it doesn't matter how he qualifies it. If he didn't want to leave, he would stay. And I know that can be so tough to let in. But that's the truth. If he didn't want to leave, he would stay. And what I should have said to her, clearly and simply, is I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. I'm not happy in this relationship anymore. This relationship doesn't feel good to me. And I want out of it. And that's brutally honest, right? That's brutally honest. And I know why I didn't say it then, and I know why most men struggle to say that, is because it feels brutally honest. And it's painful. And nobody wants to hurt anybody, for the most part. Like, nobody really wants to hurt anybody. And what I learned the hard way was that would have been, while maybe not the nicest thing I could have said, it would have been the kindest thing I could have said. But we live and we learn. I didn't know it then, but I'm telling you this now to maybe save you from some pain that she had to go through. When a man says, I can't be with you anymore, it doesn't matter how he qualifies it. It doesn't matter how he justifies it. The only thing you want to take away from that is, I can't be with you anymore. Now, the 6 statements that actually mean a man is invested. And I know I'm going through this quickly, and I'm going through it because we're already over an hour, and I want to make sure to get all of this in. So the 6 statements that actually mean a man is invested. 1, I want to be with you. Not someone like you, not I enjoy this, not I like you, not I care about you. Not I'm not seeing anyone else right now. I want to be with you. Number 2, I want a relationship with you. Same sentiment as number one, different language. This isn't, I'm open to seeing where it goes. This isn't, I could see it going somewhere. It's, I want a relationship with you. Number three, I'm not going anywhere. This is a stability indicator. If a man says this and he backs it up, he's in. A man will not say this lightly. I'm not going anywhere. When he says that, he wants you to know that he's going to be here. That is not something a man says lightly. Number four, it's a question. What do you need from me? This is him signaling his devotion. He's saying, how can I show up for you? How can I meet your needs? It means he values the connection. It means he wants your feedback. It means he wants to meet your needs in the relationships. He wants to take responsible for your happiness in the relationship, or he wants to take responsibility for your happiness in the relationship. When a man says this, he's not avoiding anything. He's leaning all in. Number five, I want to build something with you. This is maybe the most masculine thing a man could say, because it's future orientation, which is where the masculine is always focused. It's not poetic. It's not emotional. It's logistical. This means you are included in his life plan, not just his Saturday night. This means that he has a vision for where he's going, and he sees you as an integral part of that vision. This might be the most devotional thing that a man says. Number six, you can count on me. This means that his protective instinct has been activated around you. This isn't putting you on a pedestal. This isn't romantic. This is him taking responsibility for you. Him assuming responsibility for you and for the relationship. You can count on me. Only men who mean this say it. Unless, of course, and I've given this caveat a few times, there are a very small percentage of men, and it truly is a very small percentage of men. These are the narcissists and the sociopaths. The ones who are completely self-focused. They have no moral compass for their interactions with others. I don't like to dwell on this topic of narcissists and sociopaths because it truly is a very small percentage of people. And everybody on social media thinks that their ex was a narcissist now. Statistically, that's impossible. Now, I've met some women who were married to narcissist, abusive people, and like I've witnessed narcissistic abuse firsthand. It is a real thing. But statistically, it's not possible for there to be as many narcissists as people are talking about on social media. And I don't like to dwell on this topic because I don't like to foster the belief that there's a narcissist around every corner who's out to get you. As I said earlier, and I want to come back to this, most men are not lying to you. Most men are saying things that are allowing them to make you feel good while keeping the relationship within their zone of comfort. And that's not a crime. It doesn't speak to the ultimate level of emotional evolution, but it's not a crime. As a sovereign being, It's your job to know what you want, to know the signals that are leading toward what you want, and to name it when those signals aren't there. And I would challenge all the ladies who are listening today. When you look at any of the examples I've given about the kinds of things men say that are confusing, while at the time you may have bought into it, you may have gotten excited about it, you may have believed it, there was a part of you that knew, wasn't there? When you're really honest with yourself, wasn't there a part of you that knew? Just like when my client sent me that email and said, why did he say these things? Well, if you really felt confident about the things he said, you wouldn't be asking me why he said them. You would be taking them at face value. The reason you're asking me about it is because something about these statements doesn't sit right with you. When a man makes a 90% statement, meaning it's 90% of what you want, just not the full 100, that's not accidental. Remember, men are literally saying what they mean. He made a 90% statement because he means 90%. He doesn't mean 100%. If he meant 100%, he would say 100%. And except for the rare cases where it actually is a narcissist or a sociopath, when women feel that men have lied to them, what's happened was a man made a technically true statement, and the woman filled in the gaps with her own hopes and wishes and dreams. And that's not wrong. I get that too. But it's somewhat irresponsible to allow someone to do that to you. And it's a subtle override of your own intuition when you can feel the truth in what's being said. And you override it with a story so you can pretend he said what you wanted him to say. So what I really want to end today's episode with there are a few key signals of a man's real devotion, of a man's real dedication, and I just gave you 6 of them. If a man makes any one of these other statements, it doesn't inherently mean he's a bad guy. It doesn't mean he's intentionally trying to hurt you or manipulate you. It means he's conflicted. It means he doesn't know how he feels. And that's not a crime. That's just called being a normal human. But here's the thing. It's not okay to accept his confusion as your truth. It's not okay to lower your relational standard to the level of his confusion. And doing so causes him to learn, it causes him to lose respect for you. And what I want to get at is this. It's not that anybody is sitting behind the scenes, pulling the puppet strings, deciding what all of this means. It's that most communication is actually nonverbal. Most communication is happening in the energy behind the words. And so, while the words might look nice on paper, they're reflecting a deeper energetic truth. And when he expresses a certain energetic truth that is misaligned with your energetic truth, and you reduce yourself to that level, there's a subtle thing that happens in his perception of you where he sees your value as a partner slightly lower than he did before. It's not your value as a human being. It's your value as a partner. And what that really is he's saying, oh, this is the kind of woman who's going to let me get away with my bullshit. Now, I want to be clear. This is not a conscious thought. This is unconscious. It's something he doesn't even know until he knows it, right? Like, he's not sitting around consciously going, oh, this is a woman who's going to let me get away with my bullshit. It's something he feels, and he doesn't even necessarily know what it is or why he feels that way. But when she says, no, I'm not going to accept that 90% language. I want to know what you really mean. Be honest. That signals something in his nervous system that goes, holy shit, this woman just called me to the plate. This is the kind of woman I can trust. This is the kind of woman, if I was going to commit to someone, this is the kind of woman I would want to commit to. It wakes something up in him that he didn't even know was asleep. Now, not all men are ready for that. I'm not pretending they are. But the men who are, or the men who are close enough that they could get ready, are suddenly going, this is the kind of woman I need in my life. And so the reason I'm laying out these statements for you today, and I'm helping you understand what men mean when they say them and the proper empowered response to these statements, the reason for that is because as you start to step into relationships in this way, you're starting to signal to men that you're not here for pleasure or for fun or for entertainment. You're here for partnership. And men are going to pick up on that on a level that a lot of them don't even realize is there. But suddenly you start showing up in your power, you start naming your truth, you start calling them forward, and something wakes up in them that they didn't even know was asleep. And they're like, I don't know who this woman is or what she did, but suddenly I feel more ready for commitment than I've ever felt in my whole life. And as a woman, if you're going to act like that's not possible or that's not how it works, what you're actually doing is you're denying how much power you have. Women have an incredible amount of power over men, an incredible amount of power. And most of them don't use it because they're afraid of it. Most of them don't use it because their fathers and their boyfriends and their ex-husbands and the men of their past have trained them not to, because these men are threatened by that power. But as long as you're afraid to use that power, you'll never call forward a man who respects and appreciates that power. And that's the only man you could ever truly be fulfilled with. As always, thank you for being with me today. Lots of love and blessings. I'll see you back here next week. Take care. See you then. Bye. Thanks again for checking out the show. Please subscribe on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on the most. And I would love it so much if you leave a review and tell people what you think of us. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram @TheLivingRelationship to connect more closely. And I'm grateful to be supporting you on your journey to love.